All right. Well, anyway, we're not going to forget the market update today because we got Mr. Owen. Get the market update.
Oh, I
You got to
don't
play that sharp
know.
dressed man song.
I don't know how to take this. I mean, the short bus gets mentioned, and then they go directly to me.
Speaking of
No
short
good.
bus,
Speaking of short bus, here's Owen.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Owen, we always
anyway,
appreciate the tie. Owen, I really do. I got to tell you, we always appreciate the nice bright red tie.
how how I was raised professionally. It's tough to shake. So it's anyways. Um, Hey, great job, everyone. I didn't know I was hanging out with so many millionaires or people that knew millionaires. I mean, 2.6, 2.5. I don't know. Anybody get a $212,000 loan yesterday?
There's
Crazy,
some hands.
crazy
Some people
stuff.
did.
Yeah, yeah. I live mostly in Regularville, also. If you guys want to come hang out with me. All right, let's get to the market update. I feel like a little bit of a broken record, shall we say? Just skips and goes over and skips and goes over because we just got a few shots here, and we're pretty well where we've been the whole time. So again, if you look at, we got some really good interest rate news this week, and the market rallied, probably 60-ish basis points in price, depending upon what bond coupon you're looking on over the last couple of days. So that's good. We'll take it. The reason why we had that is, if you'll recall, about 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, oil really started to come down. Inflation, because oil touches everything, energy touches everything, came down. Consumer prices came down in June. If you just look at a couple of these headlines, right? Inflation slowed to 3.5% in June as Americans got a break from gasoline prices. New York Times, same thing. We had lower inflation. And remember, we had a bad jobs report. The May jobs report, the June jobs report, which came out on an earlier day due to the 4th of July weekend, didn't get nearly the press that it normally does because we rolled into America's 250th birthday, was really very friendly. And so if you look at this, right, just look at that axis at the bottom all the way to the right, 2026, you can see where inflation starts to go up, right? It goes from 2.5, where we were riding at a 6% mortgage interest rate, all the way up to 4.2. That increase is all Iran. And then when it came down about a third, maybe close to half of the way, that was just gas coming down. That was basically the price of fuel. That's how much energy affects anything. That's why this is all about Iran. But this is the yo-yo, right? Good news, up 60 basis points. Jen, if we can go to the next slide, and then what do you have? You have a few missiles start going off in the Straits of Hormuz. You got people getting skittish about whether or not that extremely vital waterway is actually open. Then we get oil right around the 4th of July, down to 68, 67. Goes up to 78. I think it's close to 80 right this second. That's almost a 20% increase in 3 days based upon missile strikes. So this is the world that we live in right now. And until this thing gets settled on a more permanent basis, pitch your tent, because this is the world where we're going to stay. And that's why, we say we're going to be riding at about 6.5 until we get some permanent peace, or we break out into more of a hot conflict again. This is where we are. But you can see how the sharp decline comes. That's why some people are hopeful that if we can get a solution to this and oil comes down, the inflation will go away more quickly. I want to believe that too. I think some of that inflation has seeped into other sectors of the economy. It's going to take a while to wring out, months, not years. But if we can get this thing figured out, it'll be good. But we're living in the same world, and every week you see different examples of it. You know, normally a bad jobs report and lowest monthly inflation print since COVID, down 0.4, 0.5%, would have got us a better or more permanent result. But we're living in temporary. It's like Groundhog Day, that old Bill Murray movie. So,
Good morning.
so let's. I want to take a look at something else now that we're done with the market update. You know, just talking about. Oh, here's the last slide. This is the mortgage-backed securities. Remember, as you go down, a downward trend, interest rates go up. It moves inverse. So you can see we're all about Iran at the beginning of the month. It looks like we have a solution. Prices, you know, the hot war starts again. So the market starts to fall. Interest rates start to go up. Then we get the CPI just over the last couple of days. So we'll see if it holds. But I just put a little graphic there, you know, who can see around the bend. You know, I don't know who's coming, or who can see around it. But that's basically where we are. The market's just trying to get ahead of itself constantly. So we're going to be in this back and forth for a while. But one of the things I wanted to look at and touch on, you know, I always try and talk about things that I see in the marketplace, things that are coming. I'm kind of a unique perch with this MBA job, but I wanted to talk about trigger leads for a second, because it's been about 4 months since the trigger lead bill went into effect. And, you know, obviously at the MBA, we worked very hard on that. We signed the bill last September. We had the 6-month implementation period, but it's been about 4 months. So I just wanted to kind of look back on everybody. Just think about this for a second, because we move so fast. The industry moves so fast. So just think about this for a second. If we could go to the next slide. How many of you have had immense relief from trigger leads as an issue or a hindrance to your process, right? Because we've experienced great relief, right? Not 100% better, but it's like 90 to 95% better, right? It's a lot. You know, Mark put 2 clients last week had 5 to 10 calls. That is true, and we're going to get to that in a second. But remember, 5 to 10 calls, they used to get 90 to 120, right? So 5 to 10 is 90% better. But the question really is, how many of you are getting your own trigger leads, right? How many of you are in a scenario where you are getting your own trigger leads on your past customers or people who have given you permission? This should be a huge, huge new concentration for your marketing. And let's just take a look. I got a little visual here, because if you're not doing this, you're missing out, right? Trigger leads should now be a fundamental building block of your prospecting. Let's just look at this visual pool, right? There, to the left is what the pool used to look like, right? Everybody with a paycheck, everybody who would sign a check and pay the credit bureaus could get trigger leads, oftentimes putting them into a repetitive system where the people got called and text, regardless of TCPA. They got robocalled, right? Now, let's remember, there are only 4 people who can get trigger leads. The bank with a depository relationship, the current servicer, the loan officer or company that originally closed the loan, or the 4th category, which everybody already ought to be thinking about, the people who give you permission, right? So you used to have this crowded pool, And now there's only 3 people in the pool. And I know we have 4 categories, but it's really 3 because depository banks are not going to order trigger leads on people that have a savings account with them. I've just seen no evidence of that whatsoever, right? So we ought to be thinking about this. Anybody who is not in a current origination situation where they're not getting trigger leads on their own past customers, you are missing out, right? Because the industry averages only 17% of the people go back to the loan officer from which they originally came. So 4 out of 5 people go someplace else. So if you don't have a system to reach out to those likely 83% of the people that you've done in the past that are going to get their next mortgage from somewhere else, you're missing out. Because now you might be the only one calling them, or you and their current servicer might be the only one. That's really the only 2 people that are going at it. So that's got to be, again, if you're going to reach your highest and best income stream in this industry, you've got to have a plan for this. So let's go to the next slide. So again, you got to build an automatic system. We have it at our company. Carl's team has it. But you got to get a system, and there are several. The Sales Boomerang at one point in time, I think, was the most well-known vendor that did this. Total Expert is starting to do this. There are some others. Trust Engine is the new name of the old Sales Boomerang. But they'll get you your own trigger leads. You've got to market to your trigger leads, and you got to expand who's eligible, whose triggers you're eligible to receive, right? So ideally, you would have a system where you get the trigger lead, it goes into some automatic marketing, right? And you got to pick up this wonderful tool right here and give them a call. We do 14 reach outs on behalf of the loan officer when we get the trigger in. All those 14 added together are not good, not as good as a phone call from the loan officer, but we do it. Then you got to market to your own trigger leads, and you've got to have a system in place. How many people have a system in place that automatically gets permission from new prospects, whether you close them or not, to be able to be eligible to receive those trigger leads? So this is one of those technology things. I think it was Mark that put in the chat. He had someone get 5 to 10 leads called last week. I guarantee you, whatever percentage those companies are picking off, it's a much higher percentage than they did 6 months ago, right? So we got to think, and we got to use technology to put ourselves in a position to talk to the maximum amount of people that need a loan and earlier in the process. And these people have already raised their hand. So if you had an opportunity to talk to a past client who just got their trigger pulled by somebody else, wouldn't you want to do that? Wouldn't you want to fight for your past client? That's a higher percentage call than a lot of the other calls we're making. So just something to think about. I think a lot of people, a lot of loan officers mistakenly have moved on from the trigger lead conversation thinking that it's over. It's not over. It's just much more valuable than it used to be. Think about that visual. You go to a pool. There's 30 people in the pool. It's very crowded, not a lot of fun. Come back to the same pool 120 days later, there are only 3 more people in it. It's much more luxurious, right? So just think about that. Get yourself into a position. There are about 3 or 4 companies that'll sell you trigger leads. Make sure you're in a position or at a company where you're getting those because they're a very valuable tool. Set up some automated marketing around it and make the calls, right? Because like I said.
Hey, Owen, can I ask you something?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I understand it. So, I mean, obviously the old way was any company could basically pay the credit bureaus a certain amount of money. And when somebody ran a mortgage inquiry, they would get fired over a lead, basically, is how that would happen in the
Mm-hmm.
past, right? And so now,
Yep.
since there's only so many people that can get those, then one of those options was if somebody opted in, right? If somebody said, gave me permission, right,
Correct.
to
Yep.
get it. Is there some mechanism there? Like this person raised their hand and said, I have permission to get a trigger lead from them. How does the Bureau know this and send this automatically, or how does, you know what I mean? Or like I was the originating loan company.
Mm-hmm.
Does the credit, when this person runs a inquiry a year from now, does the Bureau know to send that to the company that originated it? I mean, how does it work? What's the mechanical connection there? Or I guess I just don't
Sure.
understand that much.
So what happens right now is the bureaus are still selling the trigger leads. And one of the best things that the NBA did with that piece of legislation is it put the legal onus or the legal responsibility on the bureaus to make sure that they weren't selling to somebody that didn't have permission under the law. So the bureaus have the legal liability. So what's happening right now, what seems to be developing, I know what Success Mortgage Partners had to do. We had to sign an attestation and send in a list of people. These are the people to whom we're eligible to get triggers on, right? So they will only sell us triggers on that list. Now, they didn't do a whole lot of due diligence on us in terms of investigating our list, but that contract and attestation that we signed, they can sue us if they get sued on there, and not so much in the mortgage broker community, but in the IMB community and the depository bank community, we're collectible. So, and we have to send them the list. So the old companies that used to buy it on anybody and everybody, what are they going to do? Send them a list of anybody and everybody? They're going to sniff that out. So that we have to pre-upload our list to the company from whom we get them, and then we'll only get triggers on those people.
Does it, and then is there the process now, like every time you guys close a loan, that data is transmitted to the Bureau right away? Like here's another one, here's another one, here's another one. Do you batch send them, or how does that work?
We upload twice a month.
Got it. Okay. Just thanks for clearing that up. I was just curious how it worked.
Every 2 weeks we upload, the new people with whom we're eligible to get triggers.
Frank, what we're seeing, at least what Owen and I are seeing in our branch, is that that the real money here is on the most of the people that you didn't close, right? Because we all know, like if we close at 25%, that's a really, really, really good closing ratio, right? 25% is like really, really good. Anything north of, say, 17% of your leads, say 15% of your leads, if you're closing north of 15%, it's really, really good. Well, that means that 85% that you didn't close, and a good portion of those ended up doing something, maybe somebody's nephew, cousin, uncle, prior relationship, like whatever, right? They use something else. That's the big advantage, because what I have found in my own personal history is people forget who they use because the other people aren't reaching out to them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And again, not that anybody's trying to trick anybody, because that's not the way we work around here. But I think they often think that we were the person that closed them when we didn't, because nobody else is reaching out to them. Again, we're not trying to trick anybody. I'm not advocating that, but I'm just saying the big, huge advantage here is the people you closed, but even more so the people that you didn't close. So it's huge opportunities. And Owen was clever enough to came up with a little a method that like we get their opt-in very, very, very early in the game before they even decide their lender. We've got their opt-in, so we're on them like green on a pickle going forward.
I'll just say this to kind of answer a couple of questions that I see in the chat and speak to what Carl just said. So inside of our team, Carl's team, inside of Success Mortgage Partners, so at the very first intent to proceed, we have permission in there both to get TCPA compliance and to have a permission to snoop, if you will, on their trigger leads. And also that 24/7 pre-qual hotline and the co-branded 24/7 pre-qual hotline, that AI agent, that also gets everybody that calls that and downloads the letter. We also get their TCPA compliance and their triggers. So our loan officers are building their pool of people on whom they have TCPA compliance, so we can do the AI agent calling, AI agent texting, and get their trigger leads. We're building, if we have a loan officer that closes, call it 50 deals a year, right? They're actually accumulating about 150 to 200 people on whom they can get the trigger leads and get TCPA compliance. So we're growing that at a rate on their behalf 3 to 4 times what they're actually closing to set them up in the future, right? And it's all about, one of the greatest things about my position at the MBA is I have a lot of friends at a lot of companies that are trying a lot of different things. And you get to see behind the green drape, kind of like the Wizard of Oz, right? And so what we're going to be able to do with that TCPA compliance and the trigger leads, when you bring in data from outside sources where you can buy the data, is amazing in 12 to 18 months. If you don't have it, you're never going to reach the pinnacle of what your income can be. So you got to put yourself in a position where you're doing this. There are companies out there that I know of nobody that does this for an individual loan officer. So you got to make sure you're in a corporate position where this is being done, because this is what smart companies are doing.
And Frank, just since February, and this is off the top of my head, just since February, we have over 1,400 inbound lead. This is by phone, not an email, but inbound phone calls, over 1,400 leads from the 24/7 hotline. And then those people, get transferred over into the trigger lead. And so it's hey, so Owen and I are going to be going in depth in this. We're doing, we're actually kind of working on it today. Actually, Owen and I, we're talking right after this. We're going to do a mortgage town hall. So we've done those in the past. Normally we talk about what's happening in the industry, but we're focusing this one on like the AI that we're actually using. Like we got like 6 different main pillars that we use for AI. And so it's going to be mortgagetownhall.com, I believe is what they got set up, mortgagetownhall.com. And so if you get a chance and want to see what we're actually using, not what's on the radar, and not, hey, make me look like Superman with a cape and a picture, like nothing wrong with that, I guess. But we're talking about like hardcore, this is how you close loans using AI, mortgagetownhall.com. Be sure to join us on that. I think it'll be very, very, very eye-opening for sure.
That'll be super cool. So that's the 29th.
29th.
That is the 29th. Is that next week? That's not next week.
It's the week after.
It's the week after. Okay. God. All right. Yeah. Okay. Mortgagetownhall.com, July 29th. Yeah. Get in on that. That'll be super cool because you guys are going to go in detail everything that you're using, how it's working, and the results. And
dude, it's
and
when you
that.
see that, it's impressive. It really is.
It really is. And and everything we're going to be demoing is stuff that we're doing literally right now today. It's not, this is coming. This is, Carl, I did some math yesterday. That AI pre-qual hotline, we're getting about 3 to 4 million of new prospects every single calendar day on that.
Yeah.
Of money loaned out. Like of available
their
deals,
hand saying I want a mortgage.
Yeah. Not 300 million people, but 300 million in represented volume. Right. I'll just clarify. Yeah.
Everybody in America
is
every
day. A hotline every day. Yeah. Well, awesome stuff, man. Owen Lee, always awesome. Thank you so much, man. Super appreciate it. And it's all about Iran. Man, those rascals, they got to settle down out there.
We need to break out of this as an industry. Yeah,
we really do.
Does it also look like, and I know everything's so volatile right now, but it seems to my eyes, which is nowhere near as sharp as yours, of course, in what we're talking about here. It seems like we might have kind of hedged off, let's call it at least a little bit of maybe rates not taking a jump this year. Like I think the inflation came back a little bit better than they thought. And again, it depends on what happens here in the upcoming weeks, but it seems like we're leaning toward better news than bad news. Is that would you agree with that?
If they can keep a lid on this Iran thing, yes, I think they will hold off because
Yeah.
that's what we've got, that CPI and now there's another metric. I'm sure Bill Devers knows all about it because he's very knowledgeable about this stuff as well, called the PCE, or the personal consumption number, and the Fed watches that one too. So we got to look at that number. That should come out a little later this month. But the CPI and the PPI numbers were lower than expected. I do think as long as we get a companion similar reading on that other index, probably enough to forestall a rate hike for the rest of the year, unless a big shooting thing comes out. If a big, then all bets are off.
Yeah, I got it. Good stuff, man. Hey, I got
Interesting stuff. Go ahead, Carl.
just one more thing real quick. Hey, for our members, just real quick, I know we're running a little over. For our members, I just dropped something, and so did Jen. That's a worksheet for our members for our class today at 2:00. This is the worksheet that we're going to be going over. So I strongly recommend print this thing out for our members. Print it out, and we're going to be going over what I call the 5-day production plan. Is how do you get a major jolt in incoming business, like literally in 5 days. And we're going to talk about, like, there's 3 different lanes. Like, you pick one lane, not working on 3 different things, but like one thing, one script. We're going to go over the script. Who do you call? You're going to actually write down the first 10 people that you're going to call with this information. And then we have like a little calendar, like, that you write down, hey, I commit to doing this, because there has to be accountability. Like, so many of us, when I put this together, I was thinking, we kind of know what to do. We just need to do it. Honest to gosh. And so this is going to give you complete clarity. This is exactly what I need to do. This is the days, this is the times I'm going to do it. And then, the last part here, the final part, is like a commitment that I commit to, staying in one lane, sticking with this one script, tracking my activity. And we even got like a little tracker that we're involving with this thing. So for members, be sure you show up. Watching the recording won't be the same thing, because we're going to be doing this live as a workshop. You're going to be filling it out while we're on the class. So members, make sure you show up on today's class. I think you'll be, it's going to give you clarity, and it's going to give you, as Jimmy calls it, accountability with a hug. So it's really good stuff. So make sure you're there on today's class.
Wonderful, wonderful. And that's in the chat. You can download that worksheet. So good stuff. And of course, Owen Slides, if you want to slides, owenslides.com. Don't forget about the town hall and great stuff. Hey, Owen Lee, always, man, thank you so much. So lucky to have you here all the time. And we'll just go ahead and get on out of here. We'll be here with Chris Johnstone tomorrow. And until then, we'll catch up with you guys later. Adios.
Thank you, buddy. Hey, Owen, I'll meet you on my link. Okay.
Have a great day, everybody.